Welcome to a new interview with EuropeanConservative.com. Today we have Mr. Balázs Orbán, who is the political director of the Prime Minister of Hungary, Mr. Viktor Orbán. Welcome, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
We are in Paris, and recently you have celebrated the first anniversary of the group, the Patriots group, of the astonishing results of the last election in 2024 European level. Your group seems to be increasing in power and determination. What would you explain? How did it happen?
Well, it's quite a long story because after the European parliamentary election, we Hungarians were honestly undecided what to do. Our goal was always unite the right, in a sense that it can counterbalance the progressive globalist agenda which comes from Brussels. But after the elections, it became obvious that although many so-called former right-wing conservative parties like the EPP were campaigning against the bad decisions made by the Brussels bureaucrats, after the election it turned out that they used their mandate and they created a coalition with the left, and they were like decided to give a second chance to the, according to my understanding, the failed Brusselian elites. And then we've seen that something has to be done, and the Hungarians who formerly been independent, since they left the EPP for a reason, we saw an opportunity that we could be able to bring closer the national conservative Christian right-wing parties from all over the continent. And this is what happened, and it became very attractive for many political parties. We became the third largest European parliamentary group almost immediately after the elections. And now I see the Patriots are the only real opposition of the Brussels elite, and they are getting more and more united, they are getting more and more coordinated, they are getting more and more professional, which is, I think, also important. Previously, many parties were like semi-professional, if I may put it that way. In Hungary, Fidesz has a 35 years old history, and it's a governing party for like 15 years. So we have an experience how it should be done, even on the European level. And since then, I would say almost every party which is belonging to the Patriots group is winning on the national level and on the local level. So we feel that it's very promising what's going on, and we had 6,000 people today, French patriots. They seem to be ready to change France and regain that country.
How do you see the future for the group? You have, let's say, you have normalized, which was impossible a few years ago. You have moved the Overton window, let's say, somehow. What do you expect?
We want to be the largest group, and we want to overthrow Brussels. This is the goal.
Easy and simple.
But we have time. You know, as you mentioned, what was the starting point? So we reached something quite significant in a very short period of time. So I think it's possible, and the reason why I think it's possible, it's because of the betrayal of the mainstream. So they are betraying their voters, and the voters, they don't like to be betrayed. So, and they realize, I mean, they are not able to hide it anymore after the European Parliament elections, where the majority of the Europeans were voting for change. Nothing changed, everything remained unchanged. They feel that they are betrayed. And there are significant civilizational conflicts, migration, gender ideology, war, and some many others, green transition, economy, so competitiveness and so on. These are civilizational issues. And in all issues, the mainstream parties, from the former right and from the left, they betray the voters. So I think the shift in politics in every single European country will be bigger and faster than we expect, and the wave of the Patriots will have a significant effect.
This confrontation is not for free. Hungary, in this case, has been attacked many times because of their rule of law, European rule of law.
Sure.
You have been recently attacked again. These two main laws or two main legislations. One is the one that veto pride from public spaces to protect children from harmful ideologies, and the second one related to the foreign funding of NGOs, associations to protect democracy from third party countries. How would you explain this to someone that really don't know what is happening here in Europe, and everything that related to LGTB sounds like homophobia, transphobia?
Well, I think everybody who is watching us from a Western country knows what I'm talking about. So the left, the liberals, the progressives are using the law against the conservatives. It's happening everywhere. It's happening in the United States. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in many Western European countries, and it's happening in Brussels. They are misusing their legal tools, and they are putting sanctions, real sanctions, financial sanctions and legal sanctions on countries who are not in line with the mainstream position. This is what's happening in Hungary. The biggest scandal, I think, of all time, that we have to pay 1 million euro per day a fine because we're not letting the migrants in. When I'm mentioning it to all our American friends, they all say that it's the best investment what you can get. But you know, I think it's our money, and it's ridiculous, and
it's a ton of money.
It shouldn't be used against the government, which is backed by the people and decided not letting the migrants in. And the two issues you mentioned, in Hungary, there was a national referendum where the people of Hungary decided that they don't want gender propaganda in media, in schools, and also, obviously, so any of the public spaces. So the freedom of coming together and assembly, freedom of speech is important. But on the other hand, should it be free to show everything which is linked to gender, sexual propaganda to our children? I think Hungarian children, they also have a right. There is a conflict between the fundamental rights, the right of the children of being protected, sexual harms, and the freedom of expression of some other minority groups, and we should find a common ground. And Hungary decided to pass a legislation which is trying to make a compromise and trying to balance between the two conflicting rights. And the second topic, what you mentioned, is the foreign interference in politics. So I think if we take the idea of sovereignty seriously, then one country's politics cannot be influenced by foreign money. So it's not acceptable. Imagine the situation that American politics is financed and influenced by the Russians or by the Chinese or by the Germans, or the other way around. French politics is financed by the Germans or by the Americans or by the Chinese.
It would be impossible.
It would be impossible. So this is our argumentation as well. So what we're doing in Hungary, because what is the case? Hungary is a small country. You can influence politics with a little amount of money, and George Soros and the Democrats, USA, and Brussels bureaucrats, they are using all their taxpayers' money and their private money to influence behind the curtains Hungarian politics. They were financing political opponents. They are financing media outlets. They are financing NGO networks. The problem is not that they are anti-governmental. If they get their finance from anti-governmental wealthy Hungarians, there are many of these type of people. It's not a problem. The problem that the foreign donor is financing them and obviously telling them what to say. So they are not speaking in their own name, they are speaking in the name of the foreign donor. So none of the serious countries can in Europe, I think, can let it happen. So Hungary had to act.
Recently, I have been in the border between Hungary and Serbia, and we got access to the numbers. And the number shows that the policy works. That it's fair, not only fair, but it's an example of how you can tackle immigration as a normal country, not being attacked like in the south, for example, of the EU border. But it seems that also your position 10 years ago, it's been accepted by many other countries, especially in the EU level. But now it's still, yet, you're attacked by Brussels.
Well, so how migration and freedom and democracy linked? So I think if migration goes in a way it went in the last 10 years, then it will change democracy in Europe, because those who are coming sooner or later, they will become voters, and then they will change the culture and the political, the economic structure of the country. And then those voters who were never voted for letting the migrants in, they will suffer the consequences, because there will be a point where it will be impossible to reverse things and to preserve what is important for these voters. So I think if European countries want to preserve democracy and want to preserve freedom, they have to say no to migration. From the policy point of view, I agree with you that I think the liberals are over, and the media is overcomplicated these things. So I think it's pretty easy to defend the borders. You just have to do it and allocate resources, and you just don't have to let people in. And if they're trying to make it, then you have to stop them somehow. And you have to create a law enforcement structure, a physical barrier, and a legal structure which is supporting your policy. But I think Europe is just talking about the change. So Hungary was under attack 10 years ago. Now it's still under attack because of the law, because of the Hungarian law, legal structure. So it shows clearly that deep down the structure didn't change at all. An inch, the migration pact is a complete failure. It's a mistake. It's a misunderstanding of things. With that migration pact, which was adopted and celebrated also by many conservatives, will not solve our problems. So we should throw it out, because it's not going to work. We have to destroy the current migration system, legal system of the European Union, and member states should regain control and put together a common system from the ground. Otherwise, the countries will not able to protect their borders, and will not able to deport those people who are already inside their territories. So we are still ahead of the paradigm shift. Everybody is talking about it, but it's just communication. Many former conservative political forces in Europe are not taking it seriously at all.
Your stance in the immigration and others, gender ideology, but also Ukraine position, now we'll move to Ukraine, but before, it's being used, all these attacks on you are being used to promote the veto, to raise the veto of Hungary, not only Hungary, but the rest of the countries. If they approve the reform of the treaties, that will mean that the European Union will no longer exist as we know. And what will happen after that?
How democratic it is. You suspend the veto right of somebody who disagrees with you. So it's a clear sign that the transnational European structure is by instinct anti-democratic. I think this, if you want to cancel the right of the country to decide its independent, national interest-based foreign policy, then you destroy the country. So then the country doesn't exist anymore. It's so simple. So I think it would be impossible, not just for Hungary, but for all other European countries to agree on a treaty change that, okay, not anymore, we don't have unanimous decision making on the foreign policy issues, but something new is coming and Brussels will decide instead of you what foreign policy line should we follow. So I can't imagine the situation that the Hungarians are saying okay to this. So our national identity is based on the fact that we were fighting for our sovereignty for like 1,000 years, and finally we regained our sovereignty after very critical 500 years, and then we voluntarily give it up to Brussels. So I cannot see a situation like this.
Now, moving to another hot topic, which is Ukraine. Your country is holding a large consultation or referendum quite soon, but at the same time, Brussels is trying to fast-track accession in Ukraine. This, 3 years ago, seems to be quite easy thing. You come in Ukraine because of the war. Now it seems quite difficult. Many other countries are starting to change their minds on Ukraine accession. One of these also is Poland. Now that they have Naroki has won elections. How will you explain these two sides in Europe? One, the Brussels interest, and other national interests, for example, agriculture.
Well, I'm very happy that you said that there are some other people and political movements and personalities who are opposing it. I would say finally they showed up, and this is why I think yesterday meeting among the Patriots leaders was important, because they all agree that the fast track accession of Ukraine into the European Union would be a catastrophe, so they are opposing it. So now I can say that not just the Hungarians who are, again, like in the migration issue, are warning, but there are some other political forces as well. Ukraine is in a war, and the pro-war Brazilian elites want to use Ukraine accession to widespread the war in Ukraine against Russia. This is their new identity. This is the new European identity. We have to beat Russia and continue the war as long as it takes. This is their phrase. And for this reason, we need Ukraine integrated into the NATO. The liberal European leaders still pushing this forward. Only the Americans are saying no to this. And Ukraine should be integrated to the European Union. And honestly, they really don't care about the consequences. So it would have serious consequences. How much money would it cost to rebuild Ukraine? The World Bank is talking about $500 billion, but Zelensky himself is talking about 1,000 billion of dollars. Reconstruction or the functioning of the Ukrainian state annually, 100 billion euros. What happens if the Americans say no, that they are not going to finance it? According to all serious analysis, all the European member states would become net contributors. So it would mean that all the EU money has to go to Ukraine if they are integrated into the structure. It would completely destroy the agriculture policy of the European Union. And so it cannot be taken seriously. But the problem is that it seems that the European leaders are taking it seriously and they are pushing it. On the Commission, every day they are making a statement that they are pushing and pushing and pushing, and it should be finished before 2029 or 2030. And obviously they have a deadline like this because they want to avoid that this issue is playing a role in the next European Parliament election. So it means that they want to close and finish the process before the next European Parliament elections, that European voters shouldn't have the right to say no to this. So this is what they are working on. And there are some Eastern European countries whose national identity, for understandable reasons, but based on how to fight against Russia. And they want to fight against Russia through Ukraine. So they need Ukraine inside the European Union. Yeah, so it's a proxy. So there is a combination of federalist, Brusselian, pro-war bureaucrats who are looking for a new identity for Brussels, on argumentation why they have to wider centralization of centralizing the power, and a coalition of some liberal and Eastern member states countries' political elites who want to continue the war with Russia as long as it takes. According to our understanding, this is a nonsense. We were warning everyone 3 years ago that this war strategy, which was decided by the West, is leading us nowhere. Now what we experience is experiencing on a defeat on the ground. Now the Americans are changing their mind. They are engaged in direct conflicts with direct consultations with the Russians. No one is talking to European politicians. There are some politicians who are still trying to push the same old outdated strategy forward. It's a nonsense. It's a dead end street. So we should turn around and go back as fast as we can and restore communication, try to arrange ceasefire and find a long-term agreement, because otherwise the next generation of European young people will be in danger because of that Eastern conflict zone, what we have in our borders now.
Last question, Mr. Orbán, related also to Ukraine policy, which is that also the way you thought of your country as a connectivity country, also it has been reflected in the policy towards Ukraine on how you handle trying to international level to bring other people to the table to understand that there are many things that people probably don't see in their normal lives. How can you explain this connectivity not only towards Ukraine, but towards Europe, economic level, political level? What is the role that Hungary plays in the 21st century?
Well, so the geopolitical landscape is changing. And what happened with Europe in the last 5, 10, 15 years? All the macroeconomic numbers are showing that we Europeans are left behind, because just reflection on the Letta report or on the Draghi report. So the GDP is in the United States, in China is higher than in Europe. Energy prices are lower in America and in China than in Europe. So we are losing ground economically, and that means that we are losing ground geopolitically as well. And what happened, based on the bad decisions of the Brussels bubbles, we isolated ourselves from the Russians, who were the ones who provide the cheap energy for our industry. We started a trade war against China, who was the biggest export market for many countries in Europe. And with Trump, even before he was re-elected, based on ideological differences, the European liberals started the confrontation. And now we have a confrontation with him as well. So what we see is Europe is the most isolated power center of the world, if it's still a power center. And what we Hungarians think we should do another way round. So we should base our strategy on the connectivity. We should restore economic and energy cooperation with the Russians. We should close the trade war with the Chinese, and we should find a modus vivendi with the Americans, even if the liberals dislike him. But it's possible to make a deal with them, and we should create some energy which can boost our economy, because there is economic stagnation in the European Union now. The middle class is suffering, and it's not everywhere. It's just in Europe. All other places, it doesn't matter whether we look south or east or west, they are thriving. They have economic growth. More and more people joining to the middle class. Energy prices are going down, but not here in Europe. So if we want to preserve our sovereignty and preserve our opportunity to survive at least the 21st century challenges, we have to invent a new strategy. And this is what we are doing in Hungary. And this is how Hungary is trying to positioning itself in this new world order. And this is why I think Hungary will be more and more significant. But we are also members of the European Union. We should work together with other European countries, and we should together find a new strategy which fits for the new challenges. But so far, those institutional leaders who were taking the charge, they brought us into dead-end streets. So this is why the Patriots' agenda, top priority, is to change the leadership in Brussels.
Okay, we'll stop there. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Orbán.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
next
it.
round of questions in the next interview, because
Thank you
there's
very
a lot
much.
of things to talk. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.